Week 31 Day 1. Heresy: unbelief, dissent, lack of faith. Since he accused the leader of the opposition of political heresy, and the mob was exhorted to burn his effigy. Since heresy phonetics noun 1 c or u, the act of having an opinion or belief that is the opposite of or against what is the official or popular opinion, or an action which shows that you have no respect for the official opinion. Radical remarks like this amount to heresy for most members of the Republican Party. She committed the heresy of playing a Madonna song on a classical music station. 2. A belief, which is against the principles of a particular religion. He was burned at the stake in the 15th century for the heresy. Heretic noun c, a person who is guilty of heresy. Heretical adjective, her belief that a split would be good for the party was regarded as heretical. Prudent, wise, cautious. Sense in the bedlam that followed, it was not prudent to appear too apathetic. Sense prudent adjective, slightly formal, avoiding risks and uncertainties, careful, plus to infinitive. It's always prudent to read a contract properly before signing it. Note, the opposite is imprudent. Prudently adverb, slightly formal. Prudence noun use, slightly formal. The firm was commended for its financial prudence. Ostensible, outward, pretended, seeming. Sense while the ostensible enemy was the opposition leader, the main purpose of this rash behavior was the eradication of all opponents. Sense ostensible adjective, before noun, formal, appearing or claiming to be one thing, when it is really something else. Their ostensible goal was to clean up government corruption, but their real aim was to unseat the government. Ostensibly adverb, formal. He has spent the past 3 months in Florida, ostensibly for medical treatment, but in actual fact to avoid prosecution for a series of notorious armed robberies. Fervid, intense, enthusiastic, passionate. Sense his fervid appeal for action threw his adherents into a frenzy. Fervent adjective, also fervid, formal, describes beliefs that are strongly and sincerely felt, or people who have strong and sincere beliefs. A fervent supporter of the Communist Party, it is his fervent hope that a peaceful solution will soon be found. Fervently adverb, formal. The nationalists believe fervently in independence for their country. Fervour, UK, as fervor noun, formal. Fervency, formal. Nationalist, religious. Fervour, spurious, false, counterfeit, specious. Sense in the conflagration that followed, no one questioned whether the original charge had been spurious. Spurious adjective, false and not what it appears to be, or of reasons and judgments based on something that has not been correctly understood and therefore false. Some of the arguments in favor of shutting the factory are questionable and others downright cold shoulder, to disregard or ignore. Since she was so picked at as uncouth, rude, uncivilized behavior, she gave him the cold shoulder for over a week. Choose sagely today. The paramount supreme influence in the forming of public opinion is propaganda. It is not a heresy to our democratic beliefs to state that pressure groups play an important part in our lives. Propaganda makes one vulnerable to the influences of others. The prudent person will choose between cogent, persuasive and specious propaganda efforts. While propaganda has the ostensible purpose of informing the public, the most fervid propagandists use methods that must be examined by the thoughtful citizen. The ability to distinguish the spurious from the true facts requires more than a perfunctory examination of prevalent propaganda efforts. Week 31 Day 2. Propagate, produce, multiply, spread. Sense I must inveigh against your attempt to propagate the belief that your political system will result in a panacea for all problems. Sense propagate, verb 1 I or t, to produce a new plant from a parent plant. Most house plants can be propagated from stem cuttings. Plants need certain conditions to propagate. 2 Formal, of a plant or animal to reproduce. 3 T formal, to spread opinions, lies or religions among a lot of people. The government have tried to propagate the belief that this is a just war. Such lies are propagated in the media. Propagation noun propagator noun c, specialized, a box in which seeds or young plants are grown, that has a transparent cover and is sometimes heated. Anomaly, irregularity, abnormally. Sense Siamese twins are considered a birth anomaly. Sense anomaly noun c or u, formal, a person or thing that is different from what is usual, or not in agreement with something else and therefore not satisfactory. Statistical anomalies can make it difficult to compare economic data from one year to the next. The anomaly of the social security system is that you sometimes have more money without a job. Anomalous adjective formal in a multicultural society. Is it not anomalous to have a blasphemy law, which only protects one religious faith? Anomalously adverb formal innocuous harmless, mild, innocent sense. There appears to be no such thing as an innocuous heresy sense. Innocuous adjective completely harmless. Some mushrooms look innocuous but are in fact poisonous. Innocuously adverb innocuousness noun usurped excess, superabundant sense. When can we expect a respite pause, rest from the surfeit of TV commercials? Sense surfeit noun C usually singular formal an amount which is too large, or is more than is needed. The country has a surfeit of cheap labor. Milieu environment, setting sense. It is incongruous to find an abstemious person in a milieu of avarice, greed and affluence. Sense milieu noun C plural milieus or milieu formal the people, physical and social conditions and events, which provide a background in which someone acts or lives. It is a study of the social and cultural milieu, in which Michelangelo lived and worked. Without rhyme or reason. Making no sense. Sense without rhyme or reason. The pennant-winning baseball team decided to jettison throw away its manager. A free society. In a free society it is intrinsic inborn, that individuals and groups have the inherent right to propagate ideas and try to win converts. We do not look upon an idea different from ours as an anomaly that should be precluded. Nor do we permit only innocuous or congenial persuasive beliefs, and forbid those that we believe are dubious or spurious false. In a country of competing pressures we are accosted by a surfeit of propaganda that tends to overwhelm us. Thus, we live in a milieu of ubiquitous prevailing bombardment from countless, and often unrecognized, propagandists. Week 31 Day 3. Strident shrill, harsh, rough sense. Her strident voice added to the bedlam sense. Strident loud adjective describes a sound which is loud, unpleasant and rough. People are put off by his strident voice. Stridently adverb C also stridently strident forceful. Stridency noun U sense strident forceful adjective expressing or expressed in forceful language, which does not try to avoid upsetting other people. A strident newspaper article. They are becoming increasingly strident in their criticism of government economic policy. Stridently adverb She has always stridently denied the accusations against her. He is stridently opposed to abortion. Stridency noun U as the situation becomes more desperate, there is a growing stridency in the appeals for aid. Concomitant accompanying, attending sense. There are many concomitant dangers to obesity. Sense concomitant noun C formal something that happens with something else, and is connected with it. Loss of memory is a natural concomitant of old age. Concomitant adjective formal happening and connected with another thing. Any increase in students meant a concomitant increase in funding. Concomitantly adverb laceted weariness, fatigue. Sense after the frenzy that accompanied the burning of the effigy, they were all acutely aware of a feeling of laceted sense. Laceted noun U formal physical or mental tiredness. Shareholders are blaming the company's problems on the lassitude of the managing director. Deleterious bad, harmful sense. The gist of the report was that smoking will have a deleterious effect on health. Sense deleterious adjective formal harmful. These drugs have a proven deleterious effect on the nervous system. Deleteriously adverb formal efficacy power, to produce an effect. Sense the efficacy of new drugs cannot be determined without a plethora of evidence. Sense efficacy noun U formal inability, especially of a medicine or method of achieving something, to produce the intended result. Effectiveness, they recently ran a series of tests to measure the efficacy of the drug. Efficacious adjective formal able to produce the intended result. Effective swan song. Final or last. Swans are said to sing before they die. Sense the ex-champion said that if he lost this fight it would be his swan song. Who listens? As the quantity of propaganda becomes greater, ideas are presented in more strident tones in order to overcome the increased competition. Those who are the targets of the propaganda find it more difficult to discern between or analyze the new and expanded pressures. The concomitant situation that develops with the stepped-up propaganda is one in which the individual retreats into a state of lassitude. He has an aversion to all attempts to influence him. So we can see the intrinsic weakness inherent in an increased level of propaganda. It has the deleterious result of reducing its efficacy upon the individuals or groups who were its objective. Week 31 Day 4. Dissent differ, disagree, protest. Since the gist of his ominous adverse suggestion was that we dissent from the majority opinion. Since dissent noun use slightly formal strong difference of opinion on a particular subject, disagreement, especially about an official suggestion or plan or a popular belief. When the time came to approve the proposal, there were one or two voices of dissent. Compare assent. Dissent verb I slightly formal to disagree with other people about something. Anyone wishing to dissent from the motion should now raise their hand. Dissenter sense noun C slightly formal someone who dissents. Dissenting adjective slightly formal. The jury found it an easy decision to make. In fact, there was only one dissenting voice person who disagreed. Ferment uproar, agitation, turmoil. Since with each generation it becomes the vogue for the youth to be in a state of ferment. Ferment change chemically verb I or T to cause something, to change chemically through the action of living substances, such as yeast or bacteria. You make wine by leaving grape juice to ferment until all the sugar has turned to alcohol. Fermentation noun you ferment. Confusion noun you literary a state of confusion, change, and lack of order or fighting. The resignation of the president has left the country in ferment. Attenuated weakened, thinned, decreased. Since the strength of her appeal was attenuated by the flamboyant embellishments decorations, for which many had a strong aversion hate, dislike. Since attenuate verb T formal to make something smaller, thinner or weaker. Radiation from the sun is attenuated by the Earth's atmosphere. Attenuated adjective formal. Attenuation noun you formal arbiter judge. Since the Supreme Court is our ultimate arbiter of legality. Since arbiter noun C someone who makes a judgment, or solves an argument or decides what will be done. The arbiters of fashion taste. The government will be the final arbiter in the dispute over the new road. Incumbent morally required. Since it is incumbent on us to be zealous in combating the deleterious effects of drugs. Since incumbent person adjective, before noun officially having the named position, the incumbent president faces problems, which began many years before he took office. Incumbent noun C the person who has or had a particular official position. The first last previous incumbent. The present incumbent of the post is due to retire next month. Incumbency noun C the period during which someone held a particular position. During her incumbency as commissioner, several changes were introduced. To get the sack, to be discharged or fired. Since despite the fact that he was so obsequious toward the boss, he got the sack, because he was lethargic about doing his job. The people decide the place of propaganda in a milieu that is not free differs from its place in an open society. In a dictatorship there is no competing propaganda. Those who dissent from the official line may do so only in a clandestine secret manner. Where there is no open ferment of ideas, the possibility of discerning the truth from the spurious false, counterfeit is attenuated. In a democracy, the inevitable arbiter of what propaganda is to be permitted is the people. It is incumbent upon each citizen to choose between competing propagandas, while remaining cognizant of the value for a democracy in the existence of all points of view. Week 31 Day 5. Cross my palm with silver. People are fascinated by those who say they can predict the future. Fortune tellers continue to attract gullible, easy-to-be-cheated customers, and horoscopes are examined daily to see if there is something deleterious to worry about in the day ahead. One specialist, who seems to have found a way to predict something of our future, is the palm reader. It is her belief that a long lifeline in the hand means the customer will enjoy longevity. While this appears to be a spurious way to predict long life, a study done in England measured lifelines of 100 corpses, and came up with ostensible support for the claim. The length of life matched the length of line. The longer the line, the older the person lived to be. However, there are scientists who dissent with believers in this apparent connection. The lifeline of older people is longer only because the hand becomes more wrinkled with age. Length of line is a concomitant of length of life, not the reverse, say scientists. Null.